Hey guys, Chris with Nichols Retirement Empire. Retirement, not retirement, retirement. I say that because today, again, we're going to be talking about nightmares from the 70s. Today's nightmare from the 70s is going to be about the kitchen in the ancient time known as the 70s. Well, it's a lot different, young people. For one, you didn't have a dishwasher. So if you had two kids, one kid would wash and one kid would rinse. If you had three kids, one kid would wash, one kid would rinse, and one kid would dry. And when you drank water, you didn't go over to the refrigerator and put your glass under the filtered water ice dispenser, water dispenser. The water dispenser was the sink. You would hold it under there, turn it on, and we would just drink that water. We didn't filter that water. We didn't boil that water. We didn't get that water out of a bottle. We just, sometimes when Mama wasn't around, you'd just stick your mouth right down there on the faucet and drink it right out of the faucet. Just the water, just pouring. You didn't have an ice maker. Well, you did. The ice maker was water and cold air. That's what makes ice, water and cold air. Cold temperature. You would have a little ice tray when you get ready to drink a drink with some ice. You would get the tray out and break all the ice up. One of the most traumatic things that could happen to you in the 70s kitchen was you could go to the freezer, open it up, ready to get some of that cold ice. And then you get the tray out, and the tray felt really light. Why is this tray so light? And there would be like 1 cube of ice. You would be like, who would, God forbid, if your dad opened the refrigerator and there was 1 cube of ice. Of course, there was plenty of room in your freezer because you didn't have microwaves. No microwave, none, nothing. If you wanted to cook something, you cooked it on the stove, top, or in the oven, one way or the other. No Instapot, no air fryer, no, nothing like that. Your mama might have had a pressure cooker, that sounded like a World War II tank or something like that when you used it. There's probably people that never in their life, their whole life, have they ever had any kind of popcorn other than microwave popcorn. We would have to get this. We would have to take, there's a bag with kernels in it, and you would pour it in a pot, and you'd put oil in it, and you would pop the popcorn in the, it was primitive. It was just like the pioneers popped their popcorn. We ate most of our meals. We didn't eat at restaurants. You couldn't afford to eat out all the time, and there weren't very many fast food places available. So you ate in your kitchen, or you ate food that was prepared in your kitchen. So if your mom worked, she was interested in stuff that she could cook as fast as possible or get ready as fast as possible, which makes sense. Like I said, the 70s economy wasn't all that great. A lot of people had freezers, and people had wood heaters. They got the idea that a wood heater was the way to go to save money on your electricity. So in the 70s kitchen, when you would get up in the morning, you would walk in the kitchen, and your mom would have the stove on, the oven on, standing wide open, just totally open and running. And you're thinking, well, what was she making biscuits for you? No, we were eating cereal. Well, why was the oven on? The oven was on because it was so cold in the house, because we were trying to conserve electricity by running a wood heater, and the wood heater had run out of wood. My mom would have the oven on and open before my dad came in there so she could heat up the kitchen because it was so cold. So we could eat our cereal and milk. And there was a great undoing in the 70s, a great travesty. Somebody got the idea that you could make biscuit dough, put it in a can, open the can, and then cook that and call that biscuits. Canned biscuits. That's bad. That's bad news for the biscuit eaters of the world, because they're nowhere near as good as a homemade biscuit. But when you're in a hurry, you know, the working mom, man, we need canned biscuits. So we ate canned biscuits in the 70s and we loved them. I'm not complaining about anything I ate. I liked all of it. Canned, you know, Chef Boyardee spaghetti, you know, whatever, cereal, you know. That's another good thing about the 70s. They sure wasn't worried about sugar. Man, all the cereal we ate was sugar. We drank Tang with sugar, Kool-Aid with sugar. So we have a whole generation, the lost generation, I like to call them, of people that did not learn how to make homemade biscuits. Once their mama figured out everybody would eat a canned biscuit, and she started making canned biscuits all the time, and generation after generation grew up without the knowledge of how to make a buttermilk biscuit. Somebody needs to be looking into that. That's what the government needs to be researching, is why America cannot produce the biscuits that we need. I mean, think about it. If you were 40 or 50 years old in the 70s, then you went from eating, you know, squirrels and rabbits and biscuits made with lard, you know, to the days of eating canned stuff and canned biscuits. That's a big change. You didn't have the Food Network and all that kind of stuff, so you didn't have a lot of things to compare your food to. You didn't have a lot of knowledge of other types of cuisine. You didn't get to go to restaurants very much and stuff like that. There weren't as many restaurants. But I'll tell you what we did know. You couldn't fool us, even as children in the 70s. We knew that when you make a hamburger, it does not go on loaf bread. Now your grandparents, your mom and dad, they didn't understand that. I mean, it's meat, it's bread. You cook it, you put it on bread. Put some ketchup, must you eat it. No, you gotta have a bun. We knew that. We knew that in the 70s. That's a revolution. We went from the generation that would eat a hot dog on a piece of loaf bread to a generation that understood that a hot dog goes on a hot dog bun and a hamburger goes on a hamburger bun. We weren't very picky, but we learned that. That's where we stood our ground. No, Mom, I want a hamburger bun. Of course, then she beat me half to death. But at least I stood up. And I had the nerve to say it. Yeah, those grandparents in the 70s, and you got to think now, they grew up in the Depression. And, you know, both my grandparents and both families had jobs. My grandmother and my grandfather had jobs. And they weren't going to do without. They grew up doing without. So they drank their Coca-Colas. They had their popsicle bars. They had their candy bars. Man, they ate. Now, they understood, you know, he'd been in World War II. He understood what it was like to not to be able to eat what you want to eat and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, they had jobs. Man, they were going to enjoy their food now. We may not enjoy a whole lot of other stuff, but we ate like kings. If by kings, I mean, we ate a lot of stuff, fried stuff with sugar. So, for you children of the 70s that grew up drinking Kool-Aid and eating half a box of Freaky cereal before you went to school. Thanks for watching Nichols Retirement Empire.